Councillor Pipe. Excuse me, Councillor Pipe.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. One of the things about being a councillor is that you have to try to get as much information as you possibly can and make decisions on that. It's not a numbers game when it comes to consultation in this form. It's not a poll. It's not a referendum. This is consultation. Consultation is about, in my view, and what I've seen through my time on council, is about listening to people, listening to what their arguments are, looking at those arguments and analysing them and seeing whether that changes your mind or influences you one way or t'other. Most, and as has been said a number of times, most of the submissions were against the flows, but if you looked at them, they were all pretty much against the dam. And it's not about the dam, it's about whether or not, if the dam goes ahead, and that's, once again, if the dam goes ahead, and there's still things still water to go under the bridge, so to speak, on that one, but then are we going to take these environmental flows? I think it stacks up economically, and I think it stacks up environmentally. I certainly support it, because I don't want to be in 25 years' time having my grandchildren say to me, why didn't you do it back there? Why didn't you take advantage of the opportunity to actually purchase more water so that we could actually improve environmentally the river? The Board of Inquiry said quite clearly, it set limits as to minimum flows. But what it also said was that extra environmental flows would be of benefit to the river. Like everyone around the table, we haven't had that spelled out to us exactly what those environmental flows are going to be used for, and that's something that I'm a little uncomfortable about. I'd like to see more. And of course, just recently we found out that now we can actually make, well, the decision doesn't have to be made until December. So I would have liked more information before making this decision. But I think that generally, I think that it's a great idea. It's a good idea to actually secure these environmental flows now.
Tom? Sorry, Councillor Bell.
Well, to bring it to a point, I guess I personally would favour rescinding the decision that we did make on this matter, but I would settle for tabling the whole issue. I think for us to do anything else, there's no intellectual integrity whatsoever to making this decision under the present circumstances. We just looked at a list of 20 or so projects, most of which gave us far more substantive justification for being funded, and we funded none of them. Some of them $25,000. This is, whether this is 20-some million or 36 million, that in itself, the fact that the numbers are wrong, just tells the whole story. The whole thing is a back of the envelope cogitation. It was evidenced as well when no one knew how the water would get into the lake the other day in the debate. There was a stunned silence when the question was asked. Nobody knew the answer. So there is no substance at this point in front of us to make a decision like this, without even getting into the numbers game of how many people does Forest and Bird represent versus federated farmers versus 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever number of names on a petition. I could produce any number of federated farmer members who oppose the whole scheme. So that's, you know, that particular argument goes nowhere pretty fast. Peter's point about the priority of these flows, to me, is another sign of our grossly inadequate oversight of HBRC. For HBRC to have gone off on its own and negotiated away the right for us to look at something like this and insist that environmental flows have a higher value or a higher priority than meeting irrigation needs is a travesty. This dam was supposed to be a protector of the Tukituki catchment. And now we're told that we've negotiated away our opportunity to give environmental flows, which we now discover we need over and above what we thought the dam was supposed to protect. We can't even put a high priority on that, or the highest priority on that. And this issue that these people were talking about, too many of these people were talking about the dam and not the flows. Well, these are inseparable. The dam, in the eyes of everybody who you want to support it in the environmental community, was supposed to protect the environment. And that's why people are now kind of stunned that, oh, we have to spend 20, 30, 40, who knows what it'll turn out to be, $1 million to achieve the goals that we thought we were being told this dam would deliver for us in the first instance. As Rick points out, we were stampeded to the point of making a crazy attempt to approve this without public consultation because we thought we had to do it on the day, and now we discover we have until December to make the decision. Our management of this process and this particular issue within the process sucks as far as I'm concerned. When we eventually get something put on the table in the months ahead, it has to meet all the tests that other people have talked about here, answer all the questions that others have talked about, and even then, it's not clear to me that we would ever need to be in a situation of committing ourselves to a 25 or 30 or 15-year purchase. We have a long-term planning process. We could commit to purchases for 3 years, for 10 years. We could commit to 10 years and review them every 3 years. It's plenty of time for the staff to get its head around what the needs are, and it's a better way for us to have an ongoing review of what priorities should be served by the money that's available to us. So for all of those reasons, as I said, I would, to me, the cleanest thing to do, the most responsive thing to do, given both the public reaction and the lack of rigor put to us, would be to actually rescind what was a foolish action. And if we're not prepared to do that, then let's just table this and come back someday when we have the information we need.
Councillor Hewitt? I don't have a lot to say either, by the way, so don't. No, not going to take 20 minutes.
So, I just need to confirm. This is very loud, isn't it? That we're not discussing Ruataniwha. That you've given me that assurance, and the chief executive has. So my partaking in this discussion is subject to that. This environmental flows discussion. It's been really unfortunate. I think when it was first put to us, it wasn't put to us very well, and it has taken councillors time to get their heads around it. We obviously have to wear that, but just to go back to the outset, we've got 4 million cubic metres of water that was going to be stored and may or may not have been called on every year. So it was nonsensical for our investment to be holding that water, and maybe we use it, maybe we didn't. I think that the proposition that has come around, although it's taken time to get your head around, it makes way better sense financially to our return on investment, and to me it's an absolute no-brainer. I'd like to acknowledge the submitters who've fed into this process, and it's not a numbers game in submitters for me. It's actually an evidence-based decision, and all of the submitters who have fed into me have actually enabled me to feed some more questions onto management and to HBRC, and to satisfy to my own personal way of thinking that yes, we are on the right track here for a better outcome than what we were initially looking at. So, look, we have an opportunity here, and it's an opportunity to to look at enhanced environmental flows, whether that be enhancement for Lake Hartuma or smaller tributaries or more water going through the Tuki. That is yet to be decided. I think it's a chicken and egg discussion, and we've got one, we've got the other, which came first. We'll give it a bit of time, and I've heard from our science staff that yes, absolutely, you give them the opportunity, and there are a load of things they can do. So I'm sure over time that those opportunities will come to fruition, and we will be making good, sound decisions. But at the moment, we have an opportunity, and to me, we're going to have a river that is better off in terms of, or a catchment actually, that's better off in terms of water quality. We're going to have several years where quite a significant number of cubic metres will be coming through for free. So we can absolutely trial and error and work out, right, where are we going to get best bang for our buck. We have received overwhelming evidence from our investment company that we are better off financially. You all saw the graph where we went along in steps, and due to no greater output financially, we are getting a greater return financially. So to me, that is an absolute no-brainer. In an interim, that the return to HBRC has been proven that it will be increased. So I think environmentally, financially, economically, we're better off, and I certainly support this proposal.
Okay. Without even really trying to sum that up, the submissions opened a whole lot of new doors of issue, if you like, which was one of the benefits of going to our community and asking them what they think. Whether some of them had the same submissions and they were copied and pasted or emailed or however they do all that stuff. Regardless of all of that, the numbers, everything else, there was dissatisfaction at what we had put out there, and we could talk about this all day. But I want to get to a proposal that brings this phase to a close. I do think we owe it to the submitters to give them a better package to look at. There was just a few words. What's the problem identification here? A very good question. Where's the issue? What's the solution? Where's the plan? And Councillor Barker asked that all day yesterday. So what plan are we working to here? We need more information and intellectual integrity. Councillor Belford, all of you had a great point to chuck in there. I don't think if there was a vote on this today, it wouldn't get over the line. It's as simple as that. And have we done enough background work? Have we been presented with enough detail for us to make an informed decision? Going to the public was probably the best thing that happened out of this. The fact of the matter is the Foundation Water User Agreement can sit on the table till December this calendar year. My question to the Chief Executive, if we get a better package of problem identification, issues and solutions, etc., how can we re-engage with the public to let them... I don't think we asked any of the right questions throughout this process. Hence the confusion around, if I go against this, I'm going to be against the dam, all that sort of stuff. There was even information that came out of that for me, and I've got more questions I want answered before we go any further. So my question to the Chief Executive, and look, staff may not have the capacity. My view is you need to go out and employ someone to come in and do this work. There'll be a bit of tabletop stuff, pull together previous reports, but actually we want to understand, how does the water get into Lake Hartuma and what does it do? We want to understand, and is that an option? Is that a realistic option, We want to understand what these flows will be used for, what issues they're going to overcome, all that sort of stuff. So my question to the Chief Executive, if we get a piece of work done and have a far better presented package of problems, identification, issues, solutions, etc., how can we re-engage with the public without going through another great process, which unfortunately will coincide with the election? But that's not their problem, that's our problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So look, we acknowledge, and first of all, can I just say, I acknowledge all those submitters that said there wasn't enough detail, we don't know what we're getting.
Absolutely.
And we were quite upfront about that, because what we've said as part of our consultation was, here's our new level of service. We don't know yet what we're going to be using it for either. So, but what we want to be able to do is plan to find out what that is. So essentially what you're requesting is that we condense that down into a shorter time, which we can do with resources reallocated towards that, or as you've said, external expenditure. Look, in terms of re-engaging with the public, I'd sort of see, you know, we would get a piece of work done that would identify a number of different projects, what they could be used for, their benefits, etc. Put it out on our web page, in a supplement to, you know, the weekly publications. Ask for written feedback on it. You don't necessarily have to have hearings on
Could
that.
we go back to all submitters?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
they would be the first on the list, I would have thought, and just, you know, put that information back out to them, not necessarily so that they will change their minds, because they may well not, but for at least for them to understand that we acknowledge that we have gone out without anywhere near all the answers, because we just don't have them. When we're not trying to withhold any information from anybody, we actually just don't have it either.
Projects and things in such an exercise, you've got to start from square one, and that is you've got to justify or give reasons why we should even be considering doing this. That's lacking.
Yeah, I completely...
Problem identification.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. This would be a complete waste of time if the staff started with, right, we've got 4 million cubic metres of water in the Tukituk, what are we going to do with it? That's completely the wrong start point. And it's really important that what we do is exactly what Alan's saying. What is the current resource consent requirement, and does that need to be supplemented, and if so, how? And the second really important question is, how does that rank in terms of other degraded river and water systems in our region that might need attention? We need to be satisfied that this is a priority.
Mr. Chairman, not to have people just barge in all the time. I
Yeah.
have been signalling sometimes.
Yeah, fair enough, Councillor Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to know the effect on not making a decision today on the wording of the annual plan, which contains an alteration only to the level of service. So could the CEO come up with an answer, because otherwise it's off this planning round.
Can I come back to you on that? Do you want to carry on
Well,
having a discussion?
can I move, look, we're in early June, can I move that we leave this item on the table? We'll get these questions answered at the next council meeting. I agree, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. No, not next week, at the end of the month, with a paper and a process to go forward.
Bring back terms of reference for a study.
Possibly, but
For
I
us
think
to-
Councillor Scott's question needs to be answered first, and that's when we set the annual plan. So that's our last chance. And it may be on that day that it doesn't go any further. I don't know. This whole conversation. Because we, you know, so I think for clarity of that, let's leave this on the table. We've given enough instruction to staff, and I'm happy to move that.
Are you suggesting that we would progress the expenditure in this annual plan?
Well, it doesn't come into this long-term plan, that's the issue. That's why it didn't go to the public to start with, because it's not, there's no financial consideration in the next 10 years.
The question or the answer?
Well, there was a variation to the plan, that's the issue that Councillor Scott wants answered. Absolutely, and we can't get that answered right here. My suggestion is we leave this on the table. If someone's happy to second that, let's come back to it at the end of the month. So you happy to second that? Yeah, I think most things have been said, actually. I don't think this is at all disrespectful to any submitter, because it was actually the submissions that got us to this point to have a bloody good look in the mirror. So I've got no issue with that. Councillor Scott, you wish to speak? Anyone else wish to speak?
Just explain this level of service that impacts on the annual plan.
So what's been proposed, or what's been consulted on, among other things, in addition to option A, B or C,
Yes.
is a number of financial implications if we were to go ahead with the water user agreement, but also some new levels of service, some new performance targets, some new required actions to be completed over the next 3 years in the current long-term plan. And what Councillor Scott has said is, how would that change? And I can't give her the wording right now, but we'll bring back that wording before you adopt the annual plan on the 29th of June.
You're saying it has potentially has an impact on the annual plan?
Yes. Well, no.
On the long term,
It's a variation to the long-term plan, which is also the annual plan, but it's really just this table that we'd be looking at changing the wording to.
What page is that on?
It's on page 6 of the statement of proposal, but it's effectively it's an additional level of service measure for under the water management section. It's in the statement of proposal that we consulted on. Nobody referred to it at all in their submission that I could find.
But that doesn't make it go away.
But it does. It's still there. It's still there. So I need to.
Let's try and keep things simple.
Absolutely. So it's moved and seconded. Any other speakers?
I just say briefly that I support your resolution, and it's important because the public has asked us to think again. That's why I take this. And your resolution, without making a decision one way or the other, tells us we're going to have time to think again. That's a good thing. That's a very good outcome for this. Now, we've got now a month to work out how we deal with it in terms of the planning process, the words we wrote there, and the issue that Councillor Dix raised about a process and so on. So we've got a process to go through. So we've got 2 avenues of work here to do, and we'll come back to this next month, having thought a lot more about it, and we're still thinking.
And it will, I'll sum up in the end. Any other speakers?
Just, I think we've
Councillor
come to a good outcome.
Thank you. Other speakers?
I'm grumpy about this because it's my view that we should rescind the previous motion that we passed, or the, in principle, decision we made. But I'll reluctantly support this because I can see a process going forward.
Councillor Belford.
I guess I'm the dumb student here. I still don't understand exactly what we are coming back with at the end of the month. Are we coming back with a plan as to how to properly investigate this decision?
I'll sum up.
Is that what we're coming back to, or are we going to revisit the issue?
I'll try and sum that up. Any other speakers? So in summing up, in response to a few questions, etc., around the table, the first issue we've got to overcome is the impact or otherwise on our variation. So we need to have some clarity around that. My view of this, it'll be a discrete item on the agenda for the 29th, and at that time the motion may be rescinded and started again, or we may have another way of looking at this. I think the staff have had enough feedback over the last 2 days, including the last conversation we've had here. Chief Executive can go away and bring us back something that we can deal with and satisfy some of the challenges put to us by a range of forget about the numbers, a range of submissions that challenge the thinking on all aspects of this. And I actually thank submitters profusely for challenging us and telling us to take a breath, get this right, come back. That's where I've ended up anyway. So we'll try the motion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. It was unanimous.
It was unanimous?
Yes.
It be noted as unanimous?
Well, you'd like a division, so it's noted as unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, staff, etc. For a good couple of days. It was a bit of an ordeal yesterday. It's good to know that our community still want to come and talk to us. That's not a bad sign. So thank you very much. Yeah, well, they're going to keep talking to me. I'll call the hearing to a close. Thank you.